Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Show. My name is Rob Berger. In today's episode, I'm going to teach you a simple method that I use to frankly help me think better, to help me learn from my mistakes, and in some ways to help me remember every important thought I ever have. And some would say I don't have that many, so I want to make sure I remember the few that I actually have. And the idea came up through a combination of what's called personal knowledge management, PKM, and the fact that we all have a lot of thoughts every day. There's one study that came out just about 6 months ago, and it said that we have 6,200 thoughts a day. It was a fascinating study. Actually, let me read you the title of it. Brain Meta-State Transitions Demarcate Thoughts Across Task Contexts, Exposing the Mental Noise of Trait Neuroticism. Yeah, I have no idea what that means, but the takeaway was that most folks on an average day have 6,200 thoughts. There's actually one study that came out a while ago, or at least a claim that said we have 70,000 thoughts a day. I have no idea who counted those or how they did. I'm not sure I've had 70,000 thoughts in my lifetime, but we do think about a lot of things. We think from an investing perspective, we think about what the market's going to do, what an investment's going to do, what should our asset allocation be, right? Well, we also have other thoughts. We have worries. My mom is a big worrier, as she likes to tell me, and it's a trait I think she's passed on down to me. I can worry about anything. It's amazing the worries that I have, most of which, never come about, never come true, thank goodness, right? So the idea here is we have all of these thoughts. We're not going to try to keep and track all of them, of course, but there are some really important ones, and maybe we shouldn't just let them go. They shouldn't just kind of flit through our mind and then gone forever. Is there some way that we can sort of keep track of these important thoughts in a way that down the road can help us learn? And so the concept I came up with was simply this. I want to create little, I call them time capsules, where I can record something I'm worried about, or a decision that I'm going to make, or in the stock market, something that I think is going to happen, say in the next few months. Am I right about that or not? I want to record those in a time capsule so that when the right time comes along, that thought that I had a month ago or a year ago will come back to me. And I can, oh, that's right. I thought that, such and such would happen 6 months ago in the stock market. Well, did it really happen or not? And whether it did or didn't, what can I learn from it? I've found this so far, it's something I've been experimenting with for the last few months, to be extremely powerful. So here's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to kind of walk through the time capsule method. I'm going to actually show you the tool that I use to record these. You don't have to use the tool I use. It's called Rome Research. You can use a piece of paper and a pencil if you want, but I'm going to show you how I create these time capsules. Then I'm going to describe, I think, 3 key types of time capsules that I think are worth recording and keeping. You may come up with others, but there are 3 that I focus on. And then I'm going to actually show you some of the ones I've created, some that I've already opened. One in particular that turned out not to be true. I was wrong. My worry turned out not to be justified. And I'm going to show you some others that I've recorded that I've yet to open. So let's get right to it. And we're going to begin by looking at a tool called Rome Research. So we're looking at Rome Research. Again, it's a note-taking app, so I can create pages about anything I want to. The nice feature for our purposes is that Rome Research automatically creates what it calls a daily note every single day. So we're looking at January 22nd, 2021. I didn't create that page in Rome. It was created automatically for me. And the other nice feature is we can link to a daily note. So I could create a link anywhere in Rome Research to January 22nd, 2021, but I can also create links to future dates. Pages that don't exist yet. So I could, for example, create a link to January 22nd, 2022. And it's that feature that makes Rome Research ideal for time capsules. So let me show you an example of how this might work. Let's imagine you're expecting a bonus at work and you're stressed that you might not get it because the boss came by, didn't say anything about the bonus, but made an offhanded comment that maybe the company's struggling a bit financially. And it's something that's really stressing you out, and you're not going to find out till, let's say, the end of March whether you actually get a bonus. So we could create a simple time capsule. Worried about my bonus. Boss says company struggling financially, right? Now, how we actually create the time capsule in Rome is through what's called a date picker. And again, we can pick a future date, as I mentioned. So we'll create March. Let's say you'll find out on March 31st that you're going to get, whether you're going to get a bonus and how much. There you go. We've just created a time capsule that you're going to open in Rome Research on March 31st. Of course, we can open it now. We don't have to wait till March 31st. But what's so ideal about this is we may forget about the conversation we had with the boss. And March 31st could come along, and let's assume we get our bonus. We may have completely forgotten that for a week in January, we could hardly sleep because we were worried about the bonus. And so what will this look like on March 31st? Well, one of the nice features about Rome is that once we create this link, even though it's to a future day, we can actually look at it now. We don't have to actually wait until March 31st. So if I click on it, this is what March 31st looks like. And this is interesting. I'd forgotten about a time capsule that I had created about Beyond Meat. So this is actually a perfect example of how powerful the time capsule can be. We'll talk about that one in just a minute. But let's go back to the one we just created. When March 31st rolls around, you're going to see this time capsule, and you're going to remember, oh, that's right, on January 22nd, the boss made a comment to me, and I was scared to death I wasn't going to get my bonus. Now, it may turn out that you don't get your bonus, or you get a bonus that's maybe less than you'd hoped, or maybe you get the bonus you were hoping for. The thing that the time capsule allows us to do, though, is to remember that one of 6,200 thoughts that we had on January 22nd, and then to learn from it. Maybe I worry about too much. Maybe I need to remember the next time I have a worry that, yes, sometimes bad things happen, but I often worry about things that just never come to pass. So there's a perfect example. It's kind of funny that I picked March 31st because here is a time capsule that I created about the company Beyond Meat. And the question I had was whether restaurant closures due to COVID will affect, and how will they affect, Beyond Meat's revenue. And so I've set the open date for that for March 31st, 2021. I had completely forgotten about that note, which I only recorded December 30th, so about 3 weeks ago. I had totally forgotten about it, and the truth is when March 31st rolls around, I'll probably have completely forgotten about it then as well. But then I'll be able to do something with this thought. I'll be able to look at their financials. If they're on a calendar year, they won't really come out on March 31st. I may have to adjust the due date. But that's a perfect example in the investing space of how I'm using these time capsules to record thoughts that I have and then revisit them in the future to see if, my thinking on that was accurate or not. So having said that, now let's talk about sort of the three main types of time capsules that I create. The first one is, as we've looked at, a worry time capsule. So I tend to worry about a lot of things, less so now. I think as I've gotten older, I tend to care less. I don't know. But, we're all worried or stressed about something, and often they don't come true. And so we worry unnecessarily. Doesn't mean we shouldn't be prepared, but sometimes the worry is just too much. So if I'm really stressed or worried about something, I'll create a time capsule for it, pick some date in the future relevant to whatever the issue is, and then it gives me an opportunity to revisit those concerns that I had at some point in the future where I can evaluate what actually happened. So that's the first kind, a worry time capsule. The second kind is a decision time capsule. So if I'm making an investment decision, and I'll actually show you an example of that in a minute, when I'm making an investment decision, I like to create a little time capsule. It might only be 3 or 4 sentences long. Here's what I'm investing in. Here's why. Here's my thesis. Here's my thinking on this investment. And then I pick a date in the future so that I can evaluate how I've done. You could do a decision time capsule on whether to take a new job or whether to buy this car or that car or hire this contractor or that contractor. Really, any important decision you could easily create a time capsule for, and then in the future, evaluate the decision you made based on how things actually played out. The third kind that I like to create are prediction time capsules. And actually, the one we looked at with Beyond Meat is an example of that. I'm wondering, what's the relationship between COVID and the closure of restaurants on the one hand, and Beyond Meat's business, since a lot of their sales are with restaurants? Is there a relationship there? I kind of think there. Wouldn't you think there will be? I don't know. I think there might be. I could be wrong. So I've created that prediction time capsule so that I can refine my thinking and say, okay, if I'm wrong, what did I miss? Or if I'm right, okay, I got that one right, but how could I have even done better? So those are the three that I focus on: worry time capsules, decision time capsules, and prediction time capsules. Of course, you can use your own imagination, what works for you. I'm sure you can come up with others and even better ones than I have, but that's what I use. And so with that, let's take a look at a few of my time capsules that I've created over the last couple of months. All right, I want to show you 3 or 4 time capsules. One I've actually already opened. It's this one. And I recorded it, as you can see, on November 27th. And my concern was this: Joe Biden had won the presidency. We didn't yet know the outcome of the Senate races because of the runoffs in Georgia. And my thought was, well, listen, if the Democrats win the Senate, it'll be a slim majority, but still they'll have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. How will the market react to that? And one of my concerns was that the market would fall significantly because they would be concerned that there would be higher taxes on business, maybe higher regulation, and that would affect the value of the stock market. Again, I wasn't making some sort of political statement here at all, whether these things are good or bad, just how will the market react? And I was concerned the market would fall. So I created this time capsule to be opened on January 5th. That was the day of the runoff elections in Georgia. Of course, we're now in I guess the middle to late part of January, and the stock market has done just fine. So this concern that I had, or question that the stock market would fall, proved to be untrue, which was for me a good reminder that I'm absolutely terrible at predicting the stock market. I'm just terrible at it. And sometimes I need that reminder. So that's a time capsule, sort of a short-term time capsule that I created. And it was very helpful just to help further refine, in this case, an appreciation for my own limitations, which I think can come in handy, particularly as an investor. Okay, that's the first one that I want to show you. The second one I want to show you is an investment that I made in Wells Fargo. So this I recorded just a few days ago. And as you can see, I invested in Wells Fargo, plan to invest more, a long-term investment. I note that the day I bought it, the market was down 7%, or the Wells Fargo was down 7%. They had a very disappointing quarter, but frankly, it wasn't a surprise. So I was a little surprised the market reacted as it did, but I used it as an opportunity to buy the stock then. And I list here a few of the reasons. It trades below book value. I think as interest rates go up, whenever that happens, no prediction as to when, but when it does, I think it'll help Wells Fargo. Eventually, the Fed will lift the sanctions it's imposed on Wells Fargo, limiting its growth. They imposed those because of all the ridiculous shenanigans that Wells Fargo undertook with regard to fake customer accounts and so forth. I think they've sort of gotten rid of all of the personnel involved with that, but it's still haunting them. They're still losing money because of it. But I think eventually, as they make improvements and then the Fed eventually lifts the sanctions and allows them to grow further, that the stock could do very well. That's my thesis. Of course, I could be wrong. Or maybe it does really well, but for different reasons, right? So I've set this to open up on January 14th of next year, 2022, and we'll see how I do. So that's the second one I wanted to show you. I'll show you the third one here. This has to do with Bitcoin. It's funny, when I recorded this on the 7th, Bitcoin was at $37,000. It's fallen since then. I think it actually went below 30. Now it's around 31. But my question is, was I wrong not to invest? Will it go higher as our government borrows and spends more? Of course, it was under 20,000 a month ago. And so I've set this to open July 4th, 2021. I kind of want to not only take a snapshot of what Bitcoin is doing on July 4th, of 2021, but then remember my thinking back then and sort of evaluate that based on what's actually happened. So that's another example, I guess, of a prediction time capsule. And I have several others. I guess one more that I'll show you is from ARK and Kathy Wood. Kathy Wood runs ARK Investments, and she's sort of the hot commodity now because Her funds have done extremely well, and she's made some very amazing predictions, particularly on how Tesla would perform its stock. So I've watched a number of her videos. She's obviously a very intelligent investor. She's done very well, but I actually am not very bullish on ARK generally. One of the things I looked at was in the ARK fund itself. They have several ETFs, but in the one that's ARKK, its top 10 holdings, most of them don't make any money. They lose money. And, yes, you can try to guess which ones will be winners, and maybe she'll get some right, some wrong. But I just wonder if that's really a sound recipe for long-term investing success. So far, she's done great. And maybe I should think more like she does, but right? And that's certainly a possibility. But I'm not convinced. And ARK kind of reminds me of Legg Mason Value Trust. If you're old enough to remember, this was a fund back in, I guess, the 90s that beat the S&P 500, I guess maybe even back into the 80s, but 90s into the 2000s, beat the S&P 500 for 15 years. But then it had some bad years, and I don't even think it exists today. And so I kind of wonder, is ARK going to go the way of Legg Mason Value Trust? It has a number of good years, but its approach to investing is just not sustainable. That's sort of my thinking right now, but I could be wrong, right? So I set this time capsule to open up on January 5th of next year, and we'll see how I did. And again, the real point here is not to see, boy, am I right or am I wrong? It's to evaluate my thinking based on actual events, and then to refine my own analysis and thoughts on, in this case, an approach to investing. So that's it. The time capsule method is very easy to use. The great thing about it is you can create a time capsule in just 1 or 2 words or a couple of sentences, even if it's on an incredibly important topic to you. The key is set a date in the future that makes sense for whatever the issue is, and have a system in place, whether it's Rome research or something else, that will allow it to bring that time capsule back to your attention on the appropriate day. It can be a great way to evaluate what we're worried about and stressing about. It can be a great way to evaluate important decisions we've made, or predictions, or our kind of view of the way the world works, whether it's related to business, relationships, or investing. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to help you out. And until next time, remember, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.